65 toss power trap. That might pop wide open, Rats.
Kansas City Chiefs absolutely phenomenal.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the TPT podcast. Alongside me, my trusty co-host, Lawrence. Lawrence, how you doing, man? It's the off season. Not a whole lot of football to watch, but we got some XFL. But the real stuff, we still about 7 months ish away from the real stuff. But we still got a lot of draft talk, free agency talk, a lot of things, a lot of moving parts right now in the NFL. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Watching the soap opera we call the NFL right now. Everyone has issues. Everybody's, this is parts where we got Joe Mixon shooting at children
Shooting
right now.
Kids with Nerf guns, man. What's going on with that?
You got Jalen Carter. Car accident. He might be falling down on the board. I mean, you got all kinds of stuff. Lamar, apparently a bunch of teams just came out and said that they're not going to pay him. It's just funny watching the NFL right now. It's like a soap opera. It's hilarious.
Yeah, the Falcons just came out and said they are not interested, nor they ever been interested in getting a guy like Lamar and paying him that type of money. Even though we just saw Daniel Jones get a hefty contract, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I know you're going to have an opinion about that, but it is draft season, and our Kansas City Chiefs are looking to go back to back. This is an important time as Kansas City Chiefs. And let's be honest. I mean, they've been one of the better teams drafting in the NFL the last couple of years. They're the anti-Raiders of the NFL draft. The Raiders are on the other side of the conference, and they're like, trade for like they did back in the day. They were like, trade for Aaron Rodgers, draft Calvin Johnson. No, let's get Jamarcus Russell. So we know that they are never been they've been kind of drafting players. And then now you got the Chiefs, who the last 4 seasons, 5 seasons, whatever it may be, and we know Brett Veach's first draft wasn't great. But what makes Brett Veach so good at just picking players and finding players, even in trade and free agency?
It's late rounds, the late round guys. We're not going to have high overall draft picks. It's like the Patriots, right? We're not for these, foreseeable future. We are not going to have high first round draft picks. We're not going to be able to get the blue chip stocks of players right now. So we're going to have to try to find the diamonds in the rough. Those guys they're fringe second round talents. Those are the guys that are our first round talents for us, because we're just not going to be able to get a lot of those guys. We're going to have to get that guy that hopefully falls to us. Andy Reid's the guy of second chances. He's the one that's always going to give you a second chance. I could see if Jalen Carter were to fall extremely far, I could see him being that guy to give him the second chance. I don't think Jalen Carter will fall that far, obviously, but when it comes to the Chiefs in the draft, also, it's just we don't go for positions of need almost. It's kind of weird, especially in the later round draft picks. We don't always go for positions of need. They
just kind of turn out.
Yeah, we just kind of almost feels like we just go off a whim. I mean, defense obviously was the focal point this last year.
Right.
But like historically, Hill, Kelsey, it's obviously nice to get better players, but they weren't necessarily like the biggest needs at the time. So when you think about it, the Chiefs, they've done well especially when they pick earlier in the draft. Not necessarily Eric Fisher, but besides for that, our draft classes, we've always done well. And in free agency, it's right now, it's getting, again, just your third option guys, your fourth option guys that are going to round out the roster, getting depth, right? Because you're not going to be able to get as much on the top end, right? Because you have guys like Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones, who you're paying a lot of money. So you're going to have to get those guys that come off the bench. Your top end, your 53-man roster is going to be very top heavy, right? How you even it out throughout the rest of the roster is what's going to mean the most. You got to make sure those second string guys are really, really talented, because your number one guys are going to start to dwindle because of the money situation. We're seeing that with Orlando Brown Jr.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's it. Like, really, is the later rounds have been like, I don't know if that's a hot take or not. They've been just as good or better than the guys who've been picked in the first 3 rounds.
100%.
Trey Smith was fifth, sixth round.
Sixth.
Sixth round. And he's an absolute stud. Creed Humphrey was second round, but majority of the picks, Isaiah Pacheco. There was some buzz about him. There was some buzz about him in training camp, but I don't think anyone really thought that he would just take a grown man's job. And he said, "I'm going to have to take a grown man's job," and he took Clyde Edwards' job. He really did, and he's going to.
He also got injured. Clyde Edwards also.
Yeah. Clyde got injured as well, but it could have went to a guy like Jerick McKinnon. But Pacheco is now going to be most likely the number one back unless Saquon Barkley says, I'll get paid $2 million a year and come play for the Chiefs. But exactly. That's not happening. So, but Pacheco, late round pick, Watson, late round pick. The amount of rookies, and I feel like we talk about this a lot, is like, okay, yeah, the rookies played in the Super Bowl, but it's like, how many teams have you seen in your lifetime where it's like rookie, the wide receiver's a rookie, that guy's a rookie over there making a play, that guy over there is almost scoring a winning touchdown in the Super Bowl? Not in my lifetime have I seen so many different guys where it's like, these guys are rookies. And, we can sit here and just, glorify the Chiefs all day long, but you really do have to sit back and go, oh my God, like we have a lot of good and young, talented rookies. And this year we have 12 more picks to work with and some cash. So I'll ask you, what are some of the needs you think they need to go after and some of the names you think they could go after in this draft?
For the draft, Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. I've mentioned this before on here. That's the number one guy I want to target. After that, honestly, that takes care of receiver. Offense, I'm not really worried about offense after that. So it's more defense. And then for defense, an edge rusher, but Karlaftis could fill that role for Frank Clark. Honestly, on defense, it could just be secondary at that point. Do we try to get another guy? But right now it feels like we have 12 picks and I'm like, man, I don't know where we're going to use them. Like, I feel like we're going to use a lot of picks for trade bait to get already solidified players. Because right now we need to re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster. We need to re-sign him, in my opinion. We need to sign him for another 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
We need to get Orlando Brown Jr. back, obviously for the right price. We can't overpay for him. And then on defense, the guys that we want to keep, they're locked up. I mean, you got to pay Nick Bolton soon enough, but I don't feel like that's going to be too much of an issue. Chris Jones is locked up for the foreseeable future. We just got a lot more money because Frank Clark's releasing. So honestly, right now, the Chiefs are in the perfect position to go out and make a splash for a bigger name guy. Who that is, I don't know. I want to see it being like a number one receiver. If a guy like Mike Evans were to become open on the market from Tampa Bay, if Tampa Bay decides to just blow it up and say, screw it, there's nothing we can do, Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, I'd like Mike Evans better. Or maybe Keenan Allen gets released by the Chargers. The Chiefs say, hey, we don't need you to be healthy all 17 games. We just need you in the playoffs. A guy like D Hop, 1 year rental that we don't use that big, that much draft capital for. We got 12 picks. We got room to play and still draft guys. Like, we got a lot to work with here. So honestly, the grass is really green on this side of the fence. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
So there's no correct answer, but it almost feels like there's no wrong answer either. I mean, as long as we don't go out there and draft 7 quarterbacks, I mean, I feel like we're going to win the draft. Like, we're going to win the draft. I feel like there's nothing that you could say that we're going to lose the draft or free agency because of where we're at. You already saw how many rookies we were dealing with to begin with, the wide receivers we were using to get to that point, just how much we were just almost improvising at running back, wide receiver, on defense, right? Just the entirety of defense, except for like Chris Jones and Nick Bolton. I mean, pretty much everything else felt improvised. After that, it's like, all you need to do is just try to get some more of those blue chip kind of guys that are the cream of the crop kind of guys. You want to get 1 or 2 of those dudes and you're good to go. If you're the Chiefs, you're not going out there to get 10 players, right? You need 3 or 4 really big names, 2 to 4 big names. And I think that's more the route that we need to take. We need to try to condense down. I think 12 people is just too many at this point. You don't want to put too much on the roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You want to try to get your best of the best out there. So if you get too many, someone might not blossom. They might start some controversy, just stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't see them using. I mean, they drafted 6, 7 guys. They may have drafted 7 guys last year. I don't see them drafting more than 6, 7 guys again. Because if you go in here and you draft 10 guys, that's a lot. And they don't have the luxury of last year where a lot of their picks were like 2 first rounds, 2 second rounds. Now it's like a first round, a second round, 2 thirds, and a fourth, and etc. So they don't have the luxury of it being a lot of the earlier picks. But I mean, like we just mentioned, the Chiefs have drafted well in the later rounds, so it's not too much of a concern with me. And yeah, I think that they have a lot of options. And it was really weird that not too often are you coming out of the Super Bowl going, we have even more options than we probably did the year before to go trade, to go sign. And,
That's so ridiculous.
You look at the Rams, and it's kind of like Rams were like all the chips. We put out 4 chips, and we still had the stack in there. And with all of our cards sitting at the table going, we still have a lot more we can bring in. They can bring in a guy like D-Hop. They can bring in Johnson from Pittsburgh. They can bring in Alan Lazard. There's so many guys they could go get, along with re-signing Juju. And
don't get Lazard. Don't get Lazard.
You don't want Lazard.
No
to Lazard.
No.
Is it
No.
What is it? Is he too similar to what we have?
Too much for what he is. I'd rather go out and pay, a quarter of, or what is it? I'd rather pay close to double more and get Mike Evans and know what I'm getting. Alan Lazard, it's like, okay, you're getting another number 2 option kind of guy. I'd rather pay the money and go get a number 1.
Right. But my question to you is, I see a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is, and it's half true what they're saying. They're saying essentially that the Kansas City Chiefs didn't want to pay Tyreek Hill, which we all know is not entirely true. They did offer him a contract, but was it the money he wanted in Miami? No. But was it, to be probably paid top 5, top 6, 7, whatever it was to be a wide receiver? That's what people, the rumors were saying. But people are saying, what are the chances that the Chiefs go get a 31-year-old like Diab or a 32-year-old like Mike Evans, then go try to just go get a guy in the draft? Do you think that maybe Brett Veach is not the guy to go get someone that is above the age of 30? Because he typically doesn't make those types of moves. So do you think that it is realistic, the whole D-Hop thing or the Mike Evans, or are we just kind of just throwing that out there as fans?
If we don't use an early draft pick on a wide receiver, yes. Because I think right now the look is, do we really want to bet that we can go in there with a bunch of number 2 options again and win the Super Bowl? I'd rather not take that risk, right? Mahomes is amazing. Kelsey's amazing. We all understand that. The offensive line is about that life, right? Our running back room is set. At wide receiver, we need that guy who is a solidified 1. And without that, I'm worried. Because at the end of the day, you've got to have that guy that you can always lean back on. That's what was nice about Tyreek Hill. You always knew he was going to be there a few times a game, right? Now, there was times that he got shut out of a game because they play too high, cover, too high safeties and, just double team him and try to take him out of the game and no one else could seem to get free. I mean, that happens. But at the same time, if we were to use that money to go out and get a big name defensive guy, I'd be just as happy, right? I don't think we're going to go get Jalen Ramsey or anything like that. But if we were to go out and get a big name like that, I wouldn't be mad either. It's just depending on what we're going to do with our first and second round draft picks is whether or not we're going to go out and get a big name number 1 guy.
Yeah. And basically to contradict a little bit what I was saying is Brett Veach in the offseason last year said we're always going to find Patrick Mahomes, guys to throw to. He's always going to find guys he can go throw to. According to A.J. Brown, the second team that was right there behind the Eagles to go get him was the Chiefs. So it seems like Brett Veach is always on the phone looking for a number 1 receiver for Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to do basically what the Packers did to Aaron Rodgers and say, oh, we are Aaron Rodgers. You can make up for it. You know, you're Patrick Mahomes. You can throw to MVS and you can throw to Justin Watson, a guys no one really heard of. So, you know, just throw to those guys and you'll be okay. I think Brett Veach always in his mind is like, we're going to find you your number one guy. I think they can't find him a number one guy, even if it's for this season or maybe 2 seasons. And then they go out and they draft their wide receiver for the future. Because you do have some guys on the practice squad who could be good just pieces. You have the both Rosses. You have Justin Ross and John Ross. Those are 2 speedsters guys, you know, that could obviously we need another kick returner, punt returner out there. You never know what they could be. But if you had to make a trade for one of these receivers, who's the number one guy you're going to go with?
If I were to make a trade for one of the big name receivers?
Yes, you got to make a trade.
Probably Mike Evans. Because I think it's going to be the least. It's going to be the least we have to spend. It's the least amount of money we're also going to have to spend, along with the fact that he's never been injury prone. He's a 1,000-yard receiver. Lock it in, right? He's at 1,000 yards every single year. So I think without a shadow of a doubt, it'd be Mike Evans, just for the simple fact that I don't need a top 5 guy who's getting top 5 money, right? Or something crazy. I don't think the Bengals would ever do it, but maybe like get something cheaper for like T. Higgins. I don't think that'd be possible either. But I mean, just throwing that kind of out there, you get the point.
Yeah, I mean, if they sent a lot of, if the Chiefs sent a lot of draft picks, you never know what could happen. I know it's kind of their division, not interconference rival, but hey, if it's the right moves, GMs are not going to hang the phone up on Brett Veach. If they sit out there and say, we'll send you a first, a third, and these 2, 5th round picks, they're going to say, no, that's, heck no, it's a good deal. They'll make that trade. And moving away from the Chiefs a little bit here is, we're going to, we just mentioned T. Higgins. I talk about a lot of this on my live. So do you. Is it realistic to have a long-term deal that T. Higgins stays on the Bengals?
No, I can't see it. I can't see it. He's gonna want to be a number one guy with number one money, because he could be that guy. Do I think he has top 5 NFL type potential? No, right? I think the top 5, top 7 is pretty locked in right now. And the guys that could take it, it's pretty obvious who has that chance. I think Jalen Waddle's closer to being a top 5 kind of caliber guy than T. Higgins is. I think Devontae Smith is closer at this point, maybe because of injury concerns with Devontae Smith, just because of his size, you could say so. But with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, they're already paid a lot of money, that offensive line, that it was abysmal.
Yeah,
they need
$500 million.
They need to pay Jesse Bates. They need to pay some other guys on defense. I mean, if you re-sign T. Higgins, because you're obviously going to re-sign Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, you're pretty much forfeiting your defense at that point. If you're going to pay 2 number 1 receivers, 2 number 1 receiver money, and a quarterback who's obviously going to be a top 3, top 5 paid guy, you're forfeiting defense. You're completely forfeiting defense. You're never going to have a tight end that's with you for more than 2 to 3 years. Your running back, you cannot pay at all, right? So pretty much, and with how much they're already paying the offensive line, no one wants them. No one's going to want to trade for those dudes. So you're forfeiting pretty much any sort of growth for the future. You can't do that.
Yeah, and that I keep seeing a lot of Bengals fans where they have these crazy scenarios where Joe Burrow takes a pay cut and this guy's, well, guys, I'm gonna tell you this, my Bengals fans out there. Teagan is a very good receiver, which a lot of people can agree with. When he sees Christian Kirk out there making the money he does, when he sees some of these receivers this offseason, you do not trade him. When he goes into next season, unrestricted free agent, he is going to sign with the highest bidder. So I think if the Bengals are smart, they're going to have to trade him this offseason. There's no going in, and I see a lot of people, he's still going to play this season with us. Then you will lose him for nothing. The Bengals could have a team send a number 1 pick for him. You could see a team send a number 1 pick either this year or next year in a second round pick. Teams like the Lions that are trying to get ahead. You could even see the Jags that want a solidified number one to play alongside Lawrence. You could see that. So there's a lot of teams out there will be willing to send high draft picks for T. Higgins because he is such a great player.
Yeah, for sure. With T. Higgins, I just can't see them paying that kind of money to multiple guys on the offensive side and just totally forfeiting defense. Because at the end of the day, you got to have something on defense. Unless you want your defense to look like the Raiders, you can't do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In the AFC right now, you got to have some type of defense that can make big plays. Chiefs defense isn't great, but they come at crucial times in the games when they make big plays. Another offensive guy. This may be the most anticipated guy all offseason. Lamar Jackson. Some GMs, some teams have come out and said, no, we were never interested in Lamar Jackson the way that Lamar thinks he's going to get paid. And a lot of people are like, whoa, so is he just going to stay in Baltimore and have to eat it?
Yeah, I just saw a report that said, what was it? The Raiders, the Commanders, the Falcons, the Panthers, and there's another team in there that were like, yeah, we're not interested. And I'm like, that's the market.
That's surprising.
Like all the teams, like that's the market for you right now. So for Lamar, getting that non-exclusive tag put on him, this could honestly in the end look genius for the Ravens, not paying him the big money, even though he did win MVP, going through all this. This is what the Cowboys were trying to do with Dak Prescott, except Dak Prescott had never won an MVP. But they ended up paying Dak Prescott the big money, right? This is what the Cowboys should have ended up doing. But instead, the Ravens are probably going to pull it off correctly. Now, it might end up to friction with Lamar and the franchise a lot more. But if he ends up getting paid a long-term contract, at the end of the day, he has to understand like the style of which he plays. This is a business. You are not a good long-term asset. You're just not.
He's a gladiator.
Like he's amazing. He's a top 5 talent when he is healthy for an entire season, right?
But gladiators don't last long. When you're a gladiator, you have a very violent but beautiful career, but it's not going to last long. Look at a guy like Cam Newton and Michael Vick. They never played full seasons.
Well, Michael Vick's a little bit of it's a great comparison because of the way they play, but I mean the whole going to prison thing. I just don't see that with Lamar. But the thing is, Lamar,
but I'm saying that with the injury wise, because Michael Vick never played 16 games in his 15-year career. He never played 16 games.
So that's true, yeah. And then with Lamar, I thought a 3-year deal, like you max him at a 3-year deal, I think that would be good with a big bonus.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's just 3 years, right? He probably wants like a 4, 5, 6-year deal. Get a 3-year deal. 50 million, 45 million a year, because he's worth that, right? And he's going to want it because the short shelf life. You're covering yourself as the franchise, but you're also getting him paid correctly, right? Because, and this is the thing though, I know with the style that he plays, the worry is he's not going to be able to play for that long, so he is trying to get the money now. I thought Lamar was going to be more of a guy that took a home discount, honestly.
Right.
If he was really about winning like that, I think
he hasn't won yet.
He hasn't won anything besides for MVP in the playoffs. I should say in the playoffs. I'll take that back. In the playoffs, he has not won anything.
Yes, correct.
Right? He has not made it to an AFC championship. He has not made it to the Super Bowl. He's not anything, right? So he's won MVP. He's proven he can be that guy, right? And that's good. But in the playoffs is where you really make your legacy, is where you make your money, right? Like for real.
Right.
And I thought he'd take a hometown discount to go out and get more free agents to be able to get him that ring because he wanted to bring championships back to Baltimore. So for him to want all this money really surprised me. But it didn't in the same aspect because of the way he plays. He knows just as well as everyone else knows he's not going to be able to play forever like this. You know, his shelf life is short. But at the same time, like, if you know how to brand yourself properly, you can make more money outside the NFL than you ever could inside of it, right? The guys like Shaq, they made a majority of their money outside of sports. Magic Johnson,
About to be a
sure.
billionaire. Shaq's about to be a billionaire.
Magic, LeBron.
Right.
Lamar is on that pedestal. He can do this. He's an MVP. He is loved by fans. He could easily brand himself to where he makes insane money, right? And I wish teams would include brand deals inside their contracts. Like, hey, we won't hit this against the salary cap, but we'll guarantee 3 deals with, X, Y, and Z companies, and we'll work out deals with them to pay you, right? Now I get that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Or kind of do that on the down low kind of thing, right? Where it's kind of under the table deal for that part. You get the point, right? Where teams need to almost, when it comes to these big guys, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, you could get them paid outside of the sport and still be able to pull in other good talent because you're not putting all of your salary cap into 1 or 2 guys. So with Lamar, I thought Lamar would be all about that. I was wrong. He is definitely chasing the money. I don't necessarily blame him because of his play style, but the fact that he was all about Baltimore, he's all about his guys. It seems like he's contradicting himself, but at the same time, I understand why he's doing it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, no disrespect to Lamar's mom. She's doing a great job right now with the negotiation, it looks like. But maybe that's one of the reasons why it is harder for maybe him to get deals, because we see a lot of the other quarterbacks. They're on TV a lot. We turn on with Baker Mayfield. No disrespect, I'm wearing my Sooner shirt. I love me some Baker, but in the NFL, Baker Mayfield is essentially a glorified backup as getting deals on Progressive. Lamar, go out there, get with State Farm or the General.
On the General. Why isn't he ever on those commercials for Heisman winners? Why is he ever on commercials?
I've never seen.
You think State Farm wouldn't offer Lamar? Come on. Like, you think there's plenty
of funny dude?
Like, there's plenty of brands that would obviously go out there for Lamar. Body Armor, Gatorade, Nike. I mean, there's plenty of brands that would go out there for Lamar. I mean, the way he plays.
He's never out there. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
I have never seen him on my TV screen. If, like you said, if Baker Mayfield can be on every other goddamn commercial, Lamar can at least be on one of these. Because, my God.
Yeah, I've never seen him.
Baker Mayfield has more commercials than he does wins in the NFL. Get that man off my TV screen. Put Lamar on there, get him paid on TV deals and not in the NFL as much, because good Lord, the Ravens have gotten themselves into such a shitty situation here.
Yeah. And for Lamar now, I mean, I don't know if it helps the Ravens. It could help the Ravens that some of these teams are kind of, backing on. Now he's looking, shoot, what's my market now? Unless, another team kind of jumps in, but those are the main teams that had a push towards Lamar Jackson, unless the Bucs move things around and they really want to bring in a guy like Lamar, and some of these other outside teams, 49ers, whoever it may be, comes in and says, hey, we'll take you now. But a lot of the teams where we thought he could go there, all kind of went, nope, that wasn't us. You're talking about that guy over there, because we were not inquiring about Lamar Jackson. Yeah, me? No, that was the guy. Yeah, that was John Lynch over the 49ers. So I don't know if that could help the Ravens in the short run, where they're saying, hey, this is your option right here, is 150 for 5 years or whatever it may be. This is your option, Lamar. You take this, or you're gonna have to sit out a year. Look what that did for Deshaun Watson. Ever since he came back, he has not played the best football. It's still to be determined for him. So this could end up working for the Ravens. So I'm very curious to see how this whole Ravens situation ends for them. Moving on to some of the other free agents we have in line. Is there any defensive free agency? Because we're kind of talking a lot about the offense here. Is there any defensive free agencies where you're like, what, he would be a good guy to go get? There's not a lot yet. We could see some more guys getting released. Do you have any buddy on your list where you're like, he could be released? We even could see D-Hop get released. And even people on the Chiefs, you have any mind that could be released, or you could see anyone on the Chiefs signing on defense?
For the Chiefs on defense, I see us. Obviously, we already got rid of Frank Clark. I've been saying this for about a year and a half now. So glad that finally happened, because I get it. He has all these sacks in the postseason, and people get wowed at that. If anybody watched that first half against the Eagles and you see him just running at Jalen Hurts and just being uncoordinated and just blowing his assignments a lot. And he has a lot of penalties on him. And with this cap hit, he wasn't worth that. So I'm glad that we made that move. I would have rather have restructured it and had him, just paid way less and him stay on the team. I still want him on the team, but I didn't for what he was getting paid.
Not that money.
There's no way. But some defensive guys that I'm interested to see in free agency. Number 1, Jesse Bates. I'm interested to see where he goes. Number 2, Tremaine Edmonds from the Bills. Also Jordan Poyer from the Bills. Whether or not Jalen Ramsey gets traded, if Aaron Donald decides to retire, some other guys. Jalen Ramsey is definitely the big one on my list, just because of trade value, and the fact that the Rams might end up blowing that up. I think that's about it. I mean, obviously there's other names, right? But those are like your big names, your household names.
Yeah, names don't usually, typically start popping up until guys get released. But Jordan Poyer, I mean, we have, if you wanted to come to a team like the Chiefs, if you want to win, a Super Bowl, we haven't had great safety play since Eric Berry was healthy back in like 2016 season.
Tyrann Mathieu is pretty good to me.
No disrespect to Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu's first 2 seasons here was great. I forgot about Tyrann Mathieu. Sorry, I'm just thinking about the glory days of Eric Berry, him lighting Rob Gronkowski and some other guys up a couple times a year. But yes, Tyrann Mathieu, if you're listening to this, my apologies. You were a huge part of winning the Super Bowl here in Kansas City. But Juan Thornhill, I'd say half of the safety list, the free safety or strong safety list. So on the other side with Juan Thornhill, after Juan Thornhill's rookie year, he hasn't been the same guy. So if you could have Justin Reid and Poyer back there out at safety, I think that would be a great move for the Chiefs. And you mentioned the Rams. I saw this interesting. I've seen this a couple of times on Twitter, not necessarily too many times from the big time media, but some local media in Kansas City. What would you if the Rams called you today? They said, "What are you willing to give up for Cooper Kupp? Would you be willing to give up for Cooper Kupp?"
For Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp.
Oh my!
No one's not talking about a Rams potential fire sale.
Our first round pick. Let's pick 32. And I mean, honestly, like half our damn draft class for Cooper Kupp. Dude.
Cooper Kupp.
Dude.
If they told you,
yeah.
so I'll throw a little scenario at you. You're on whatever crappy GM the Rams have. I'm down the phone, and then I just call you and I say, hey, I want a first, a third, and a fifth for Cooper Kupp and L'Jarius Sneed. How are you doing it?
Oh, damn, you threw L'Jarius Sneed in there.
I threw L'Jarius Sneed in there. I threw L'Jarius Sneed in there. You were 100% until you heard of Mr. Sneed.
I would take him. I would take out L'Jarius Sneed. I put in Leo Chanel and maybe Watson, that rookie corner that had that broken hand that was making all those plays. Maybe him. Or I'd go on the offensive side of the ball and I'd say, oh, damn.
I mean, dude, L'Jarius Sneed,
you threw in L'Jarius Sneed. That hurts.
I know because
he's good.
Adam, what was it? Peter King, who writes for NBC, legendary writer and Hall of Famer. He said that the Chiefs have a possibility of, if they can't work out a deal with L'Jarius Sneed, they could end up trading him for more draft picks, kind of. And we've seen it. It's not, a lot of people were going right after Peter King. I'm like, guys, it's not too far out of the realm of
we
reality
did with Ward.
Because
we did with Chardavius Ward.
Yeah, exactly. They had to let Ward walk because they were like, we have Mahomes. We're never going to overpay for people. And L'Jarius Sneed is a great corner. There's going to be teams who are like, here's this much money, and he's going to go up to Brett Veach and say, hey, do you want to match this? And they're going to be like, no. Like,
so if I'm the Chiefs, so if we're looking at it like that, where it's like we're going to get rid of L'Jarius Sneed anyway, I'm picking up that first taking that first round off the table. L'Jarius Sneed,
Yeah, I like that.
a second, a third, and a seventh, and maybe 2 sevenths. I think we have 2 sevenths.
Yeah, we have
two
two.
sevenths. So we keep our first round pick, but we're giving up a lot in the tail end of it. Maybe throw in like a fifth and then a fifth next year. Just like a lot of late round kind of guys.
Yeah, because
Cooper Kupp.
Even if they did, again, I would probably take out the first. I would do the second, either this year or next year. I would throw in a third, a fourth next year, and then like 2 fifths. I mean, because again, you drafted so many guys from last year's draft. I get it. You're always going to need more youth on the team, but we've drafted well over the years, and you're still going to have a 6th round pick and that 4th round pick there. There's still a lot of options you could go with there. There's potential that if you even want to go after another young running backs, there's going to be other running backs that pop in there. A guy I like from Oklahoma, Eric Gray, is still going to be available there. But I mean, again, that's something that I haven't seen too many people talk about. Maybe we're the first people to really jump on it because the Rams could be in fire sale mode where, I mean, what are they going to really do with Cooper Kupp next year? What are you going to do with a lot of these guys? There's even rumors that Aaron Donald may be on that block that they could get rid of because they're going to get rid of Ramsey. They just cut Leonard Floyd. He's gone, good linebacker. So that's another guy out there that they could end up getting rid of.
Stafford may never be the same.
Yeah, exactly. Stafford may just say, "All right, Baker, here you go. I got a Super Bowl. I'm done. Good luck in the Caleb Williams race." That could happen with the Rams. And I mean, could you imagine? Again, this is the timeline. I'm kind of looking ahead, and I'm kind of a sports nerd. I mean, Caleb Williams and USC. I know no team goes in the season looking to tank. No team is really going to go into the season thinking, "All right, guys, let's go 1-16." So we can get Caleb Williams. But you're kind of looking at the future saying, we're not going to compete with these other teams in the NFC West. Hey, you could, kind of, come on, throw Cooper Kupp over to Patty Mahomes and see what we could do to try to win back-to-back.
All right, so you had a next point that you wanted to get to, the next topic. I kind of cut you off, my bad.
No, you're good. Yeah. So what's if the Bucs called you today, real quick, what would be what you're giving up for a guy like Mike Evans or Chris Godwin? They say pick your poison. You can trade for Mike Evans or you can trade for Chris Godwin. We're looking to get rid of one of the two.
A 2nd rounder for Mike Evans, straight up.
A second rounder
and maybe like a roster filling kind of guy, like a Karlaftis, Leo Chanel, a Willie Gay, but even a linebacker.
I mean, I really like Mike Evans. I really do. But I don't know if I'm because again, he's 32, going to be 33. I mean,
if you get a third, a couple like a third and a fifth,
because my thing with Godwin, when healthy, that kid is electric, and he's 25, 26. So he's not too old either. I'll take Chris. They said, we send a third or a fourth for Chris Godwin, and your wide receiver core, what some of the pieces we have now could be absolutely astonishing. And that's one of the last things I want to talk about here before we get out of here is what is our wide receiver core gonna look like come at training camp? Give me your prediction on what the Chiefs, if you had to just kind of make a guess, your 6 on the Kansas City Chiefs, or maybe your 5 or 6 guys.
Juju, Sky Moore, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, because he's still on payroll, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's 3 right there. Kadarius Toney, John Ross, Justin Ross, whoever the number 1 guy we're going to get. Whoever that may be.
I mean, I like that. I do think, like I said, Veach is going to get somebody. He's going to get somebody, if it's the draft or if it's wide receiver. There's just some things you kind of get a feel with. I feel like Brett Veach is going to go get somebody, and those are the 6 or 7 I have. I don't know if you said Watson. Justin Watson. I think it's going to be between Justin Watson, John Ross, and Justin Roth at the end of the season. And a name you didn't have on there, McCole Hardman. What is the best fit for McCole Hardman?
Gotta think of how much he's gonna get, because he's gonna be one of those guys that wants a lot of money. He's gonna get
I mean,
overpaid,
do you
probably.
think he could come back to the Chiefs on a 1-year prove-it deal?
No, I think he's done. I think he's gone. If I try to think of a team that would be good for him that has a cap space,
You got the Bears. You got the Bears. You got the Commanders.
the Commanders, the Bills. I don't think the Bills are willing to do that because of cap issue.
I mean, the Bears got a lot of money. They got the Ryan Poles connection, former Chiefs assistant GM. Jets need depth.
The Texans.
Yeah.
So
the helmet behind you, the Browns, they need some depth at wide receiver.
That's actually a good one.
The Browns need some depth at wide receiver. There's talks that even D-Hop could get reunited with him.
The 49ers, the one above me.
Yeah. 49. That actually not a bad fit for a guy like McCole Hardman. We know he had 3 or 4 touchdowns versus them randomly last year. Titans need wide receivers. There's a lot of plethora of teams that need wide receivers. We talked a lot about the Chiefs. We talked about free agency. We talked about the draft. Our last segment here before we head out of here, the draft. The quarterbacks. We had the combine. A lot of talks on the quarterbacks. Is there some guys you're high on and some guys you're not? A guy like Will Levis, I see a lot of people that he just keeps climbing and climbing. It's like he's like a rope, and it's like Princess's Bride. He just keeps coming to the top of the mountain there.
I don't get it.
Is he the best quarterback in his draft?
No.
What's going on?
I'm getting Mitch Trubisky vibes from Will Levis all day, every day. I've said this since the end of college football season. He gives me major Mitchell Trubisky vibes where he does not belong in this top 2 conversation, right? And he's going to end up getting in there, right? Why is he above Bryce Young? Why is he above CJ Stroud? Well, he has the possibility of becoming, Josh Allen. I think he has more of the possibility of becoming more of a guy like Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones, Mitch Trubisky, that's where I see him at. And then when it comes to quarterbacks, right, my top 5 guys is in no particular order. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Yeah, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker. Right, those are my 5 guys. Hendon Hooker is going to be a 3rd or 4th round prospect, maybe 5th round if he were to drop that low. I don't think he will, just because someone's probably going to reach a little bit, even with his injury. But the guy with the highest ceiling and the lowest floor is Anthony Richardson. And whether or not he can truthfully break out as a quarterback. Now, I could see him almost pulling a Logan Thomas where he goes from quarterback to tight end, right? I could totally see that in his career. If it doesn't pan out, he just always has that tight end to fall back on. But when it comes to quarterbacks, I think right now you're almost looking at like who has the highest floor, right? It's Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. If Bryce Young was 6 foot, he'd be the number 1 overall pick. It'd be consensus. It'd be easy. But since he's 5'10", everyone's like
5'10". Yeah, I mean
that's tough. Like
he's almost 5'9".
I'm like 5'11 and a half, and I'm not tall when you consider like football standards, right? So like 6'1's right where you want to be at, like 6 foot on the low end, and 5'10", 200 pounds, 205 pounds. I mean, it's tough, right? Because then you got CJ Stroud, who's more of that prototypical, 6'3", 215. He has the running ability with that arm. And then Will Levis, a lot of people think he's going to be that bigger body kind of guy, closer to Josh Allen. I don't see it. Anthony Richardson's a Cam Newton guy to me. And everyone's like, well, he's Cam Newton, but like mixed with Justin Fields. Where? Right? Anthony Richardson's like arm, it's boom or bust, right? There's times where it just disappears, and there's times where he can just throw a freaking dart, right? And then, yes, he ran a 4.43. Cam Newton ran a 4.59. It's not that big of a difference. Like we're sitting here acting like that's some just astronomical difference. That's like a half a step, right? Which I get on the football field, everyone's like a half a step. That's a lot. Well, I mean, yes, but at the same time, Cam Newton was much more powerful. Much more dangerous at the goal line. So when it comes to those five quarterbacks, I'm not high on really any of them. I'm not seeing a Caleb Williams like next year. Next year, Caleb Williams, Quentin Ewers, right? Those are two guys that I'm looking forward to seeing battle it out for Heisman, right?
Right. And and again, I'm not big on anything. I mean, I just looked at Bryce Young's official, readings at the draft: 5'10" and 1/8 and 185 pounds.
He wasn't 185. He was like 205. I thought. I saw he was like 205.
I mean, this could be wrong. I could be wrong. But 205, still 5'10" and 1/8. I mean, I'm scraping 6 foot, and when I go play pickup football and the offensive linemen are 6'3" and 6'4", and I'm like peeking over the top. I mean, and again, nimbly, 185, 200, that's a pretty good difference. But he's nimble, And again, there has been quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. I can go on Doug Flutie, whatever. I can go on in smaller guys, but I'm not big on all of them. You touched on Anthony Richardson. Some people are saying he's a player, which I'm like, okay, damn. Some people are calling him Cam Newton. I think, and I know, and I'll say this: the farther he drops, the better chance he has to be a great quarterback.
Yes.
The farther he drops in the draft.
You just read my mind. That is what I just got done saying that off of a live that I just got off of 100%. Right. If he's taken in the second round, he's able to sit for a year. Perfect. He needs to be a guy that needs to sit for a year. You cannot start him year one. He's not going to be able to do what Lamar did, what Justin Herbert did. He's not that kind of guy yet.
He's got to have a redshirt year. And if he can get with a quarterback that knows the game and is not sitting there thinking, and they know that, this may be my season, but eventually it's going to be this, like Alex Smith did with Patrick Mahomes, knowing I'm going to be on a different team next year. I'm going to try to win as much games as I can this year, but also teach this guy how to be a pro's pro, everyday work and practice like Alex Smith did. That'll be the best case scenario for Anthony Richardson.
And when it comes to Anthony Richardson, it's going to come down to obviously a lot to what team he ends up on. That you could say that for any prospect, him even more in particular, because if they decide to play him day one, he's not going to be able to do what Justin Herbert did. People forget Justin Herbert came back for an extra year when he was already a top 5, top 10 pick. He went back to Oregon for an extra year and then came back to be able to be another year closer to being ready. And it showed, right? Because he was the best rookie ever at quarterback. And then a guy like Lamar had already won a Heisman. Lamar had already, proven he was that kind of guy at the highest level for NCAA. Cam Newton already had won a Heisman, already had proven he was that kind of guy. So when you talk about, Anthony Richardson being a first-year starter, unless it is an absolute emergency, no, you can't.
Right. Unless the 49ers happen to go, hey, we got you in the 4th round where he can just.
Oh, yeah, 4th round. Yeah.
Yeah, plug in where it's like it'll be so hard for him to fail in a system like that where you have a perfect head coach, perfect offensive line, and good running backs, a situation like that. But he still needs to be on a team where he can be with a quarterback, learn the systems on the NFL. Any last thoughts you have what the Chiefs need to do in free agency and the draft?
My biggest thing right now is not overpaying Orlando Brown Jr. I hear a lot of people saying, well, he's not coming back. The problem is just the money right now, right? We don't want to franchise tag him and then just be right back into the situation next year, right? We want to try to get him either completely ready, completely on ship, or completely off, right? Because we don't need that headache going into next year. Why isn't he getting paid? The drama in the locker room, the drama in the media. We don't need that, right? I think Orlando Brown Jr. will come back. But I think that's the biggest thing as of right now. And honestly, how we're looking at it, we're talking about number one receivers. They might be like, hey, Kadarius Toney's that guy. He stays healthy. He could be our number one type guy. He's fast enough. He's tall enough. He could, he has the skill set. It's just whether or not can he stay healthy. I think that's a big risk. I would not agree with taking that risk quite yet, right? I'd want to see him prove it for a year or two that he can sustain, long-term health. But the Chiefs could be like, hey, we're going to go invest in defense. We've already seen what Mahomes can do with this offense. Now you have Kadarius Toney for the full year. You're going to have Sky Moore for the second year. You go out and draft a guy, whoever that may be, and then just go invest in defense. And now you give Mahomes a top 10 defense. Oh, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, I agree. I like Orlando Brown. Again, got my Sooners gear on today. Orlando Brown, great guy. And he's a good locker room guy. He's always on Chiefs TikTok making little videos in the locker room. And he generally seems like a good guy. But again, he wants to get paid just like everyone else. But the Chiefs have a limit. The Chiefs have a limit. And I see a lot of people saying, even like last year, like, oh, he's a selfish guy. I'm like, hey, the man wants to get paid just like anyone else, and he's betting on himself. He's saying, this is the type of talent I think him. And there's going to be other teams out there that are like, we'll take a 6'8", 300-pound guy on our offensive line. But the Chiefs just have a limit. They're like, we have Patrick Mahomes. This is what we can pay a guy. So I agree. Don't pay for Orlando Brown because, again, it looks like they're not going to bring back a guy like Frank Clark. If they don't bring back Orlando Brown, that's $41 million in cap space. Yes, you have to replace those guys, but it's a lot of money you can do with a lot of different players. All right, guys, that'll just about do it here on the TPT podcast. Before we go, Lawrence, again, you got to tell people where they can reach you on TikTok. We know you were just live today talking some NFL drafts. Where can people keep up with you and some of your great content?
Yeah, on Facebook, I am Lawrence Sports Talk. That's where I post on Facebook. I do that primarily a few times a week, and then TikTok's my daily one. I try to go live a few times a week. I try to do my best to do every day, but mostly TikTok is definitely Sports Talk Debate. I post videos every single day. I do my content like that every single day. I'm starting to try to work on a YouTube. I have not finished that yet. I'm upgrading my equipment like literally as we speak. So I'm trying to get better in that realm, and I'm going to try to make more high quality videos and then transition that to YouTube and try to officially go into the YouTube space. But I'm waiting to get that all completely done before I actually jump in, because I want to make sure the content looks really good. So yeah, once I get that made, I'll definitely send you to put that on the links below. But yeah, right now it's TikTok and Facebook is all I'm on.
Yeah, make sure you guys go check that out. Not only do we just talk about football, but basketball. We talk about a lot of things on there: college football, college basketball, NFL, a lot of stuff on my live and his live. You guys definitely need to go check that out on Facebook as well. He's blown up, and yeah, we'll have the YouTube on the description below once that gets up. But we'll see you guys on a later edition of the TPT podcast. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you for watching. If you guys want more videos just like that, head over to Instagram or on TikTok. Also, check out each and every one of our videos here on YouTube each week.